Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. John Harrison was one of the richest and most influential men in the United States. At 45, he owned a financial empire, lavish properties across the country, and a lifestyle many would envy. Yet, despite all that money and power, a nagging worry plagued him. Did his family love him for who he was, or only for his wealth? His wife, Emily Harrison, was beautiful, intelligent, and caring. Since their marriage, she had always been sweet and loyal, at least on the surface. John couldn't help but wonder if, in the event of financial hardship, she would stay by his side or abandon him. One evening, in the hushed silence of their manor, John made a radical decision. He was going to put his family to the test. He announced to Emily, in a deep but controlled voice. "Emily, I made a huge mistake. All our investments failed. We lost everything. From today on, we have to live modestly." Emily, shocked but still composed, tried to understand, her eyes filled with worry. John observed every micro-expression, surprise, fear, anguish, but also, surprisingly, the strength and resilience that manifested themselves despite everything. John knew the road ahead would be long. He had to pretend to be a broken man, unable to provide for his family, to test the true nature of Emily's love and loyalty. But he was still unaware of the intensity of what he was about to discover. The greatness of the human heart could surpass all the riches in the world. This prologue lays the groundwork for an emotional drama where love and sacrifice are the true treasures, and where John is about to discover that material wealth is worthless compared to the authenticity and loyalty of his wife. The next morning, John got up early, dressed in simple, worn clothes, a far cry from his usual bespoke suits. The driver, personal assistants, and even the private security were gone. Emily, still reeling from the impending loss, didn't know how to react. John decided to remain silent and observe. He pretended to go out to do some modest shopping on a limited budget. Emily, on the other hand, calmly and determinedly took charge. She took stock of the remaining bank accounts and began planning how to manage every dollar carefully. "We'll get there, John," she said softly, squeezing his hand. "We will find solutions." John was surprised by her composure. He had imagined anger, frustration, or even panic. But Emily showed no fear, no resentment. She spoke with pragmatism and wisdom. She cut unnecessary expenses, contacted the relevant departments to negotiate payment extensions, and organized the household to avoid any waste. At one point, she even offered to sell some of the house's valuables to cover urgent bills, always with respect and dignity, as if she were taking care of their family rather than money. John felt a strange emotion wash over him, admiration and guilt at the same time. He realized that Emily possessed a strength and intelligence he had never fully appreciated. Later that day, he saw her considering new ideas. She suggested converting part of the house into a craft workshop to generate temporary income. She planned everything calmly, never showing any frustration. John then realized that this test would teach him more about love and loyalty than he could ever have imagined. Emily was not just a wife, she was a pillar, a guide, and perhaps the greatest treasure he possessed, far beyond his fortune. In the following days, John decided to push the test a little further. He pretended to ignore certain urgent expenses, including essential utility bills and everyday necessities. He wanted to see how far Emily could adapt without losing her composure or dignity. To her great surprise, Emily showed neither anger nor reproach. On the contrary, she found ingenious solutions to compensate for the lack of money. She sold personal belongings, then organized a small craft sale to earn extra income. Every action was measured, deliberate, and carried out with a smile, as if she were transforming every difficulty into a challenge to overcome. One evening, while they were having a simple dinner, Emily said softly, "John, I know we are going through a difficult time, but I believe we can overcome this together. We have our family, our home, and our determination." John felt a mixture of shame and admiration. He had thought he was testing Emily's loyalty, but he hadn't expected to discover so much strength, patience, and courage in her actions. He then decided to fake an even worse loss, a financial incident that would force them to live with almost nothing for a few days. Emily agreed without hesitation. She organized the household to maximize resources, shopped on a shoestring budget, and reassured their children so they wouldn't worry. Every gesture, every smile, every word from Emily confirmed to John a truth he had ignored: true love does not depend on money. Emily did not love the man for his wealth, but for who he was. This realization shook John to his core. For the first time, he began to feel profound respect and genuine admiration for his wife. What he had thought was a mere test was teaching him a lesson no course, no business manual, could offer. The value of a loyal and courageous heart surpasses all the wealth in the world. 2 weeks passed. John watched Emily's every move intently. She remained strong, patient, and hopeful. But for him, that wasn't enough. He wanted to know not only if she could love him in poverty, but also if she could remain humble in the face of his sudden return of wealth. So, he decided to launch the final challenge. One morning, he came home, feigning surprise and joy. "Emily, you won't believe this, an old business partner just called me. He paid me back an old debt. We have money again." He showed her forged documents, prepared in advance, proving that they now had a large sum of money. He watched Emily's face, searching for the slightest trace of greed or excitement. But instead of jumping for joy, she remained silent for a few seconds, then simply replied, "That's good news, John, but promise me that this time, we'll do things differently. Money isn't everything. What these past few weeks have taught me is that simplicity, unity, and peace in our family are worth far more than any bank account." John was speechless. Emily continued, her gaze sincere. "If we have money again, let's help those who don't have any. Let's give some to those who are struggling. I want this ordeal to have meaning." John felt his heart sink. She didn't speak like a woman tempted by wealth, but like an awakened soul, forged by hardship. Her humility and kindness moved him deeply. To push things further, John pretended he wanted to immediately buy luxury items and resume their old life. Emily, this time, placed a gentle hand on his arm and said firmly, "No, John. We don't need all that. What has made us strong is not what we possess, but what we have become." This sentence resonated in his mind like a revelation. That evening, alone in his office, John sat in silence, staring blankly ahead. The test he had devised to judge his wife had just backfired. It was he, not Emily, who still had lessons to learn. He understood that true poverty was not a lack of money, but a lack of gratitude and trust. And that Emily, his wife, had always been richer than him, rich in values, kindness, and sincere love. The next morning, John woke up earlier than usual. The house was quiet, bathed in the soft light of dawn. Emily was preparing breakfast, as always, her face serene, her gaze kind. He looked at her in silence, his eyes filled with tears. He knew the moment had come to confess everything. He sat down at the table, took a deep breath, and said in a trembling voice, "Emily, there's something you need to know." She stopped, worried, then came and sat down opposite him. "What's wrong, John? You seem upset." John took her hands in his and continued. "Everything you've been through these past few weeks, it was a test. I haven't lost anything. I've never been ruined. I wanted to know if you loved me or for what I had. And you proved to me that your love is purer than all the gold in the world." Emily remained frozen, shocked, unable to utter a word. Her eyes welled up with tears. "You invented all of this?" she asked in a trembling voice. "Yes," replied John, ashamed. "And I blame myself. Because while I doubted you, you were there, faithful, strong, and full of kindness. I wanted to test your love, but it was mine that failed." A tear rolled down Emily's cheek. She remained silent for a few seconds, then gently placed her hand on her husband's. "John, I'm angry with you for doubting me. But I forgive you. Because now you finally understand that love has nothing to do with wealth. If one day we were to truly lose everything, I would still be there, by your side. Because it's you I love, not your money." Those words broke John's heart. He hugged his wife tightly, unable to hold back his tears. "You are my greatest treasure, Emily, and I promise you that I will never doubt your heart again." At that moment, he knew that his life had just changed forever. Luxury cars, business contracts, skyscrapers, none of it had the same value anymore. That day, John finally understood what it meant to be truly rich. To have by one's side a sincere soul, an indestructible love and a heart full of gratitude. The billionaire who had owned everything finally discovered that true wealth was found neither in bank accounts nor in golden mansions, but in the silent loyalty of a woman who loved him for who he was.